Meep. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. How are you all doing on this wonderful, wonderful day? Monday. It's Monday. That's why it's wonderful. We're going to be reading some spooky, scary stories. Welcome in, Random Game Lover. Welcome in, Lemo Phoenix. Welcome in, Druth. I hope you guys are ready to get so scared about it. Because there's a million stories. I don't know if you guys know about this. Creepypasta sounds like it might be. Oh god, that pumpkin is in front of my heart score. I should move that. There's a lot of stories in the world. There's a lot of stories about scary and frightening, but the ones from the internet, they're called pastas. So today, we're gonna read some pastas. Let me get some background music going so that we can have some nice spooky ambulance going on in the background. Wow, so spookily scary. Actually, that one might be too spooky scary. Hold on. I put together a haphazard playlist of just spooky-ish video game music. And we're just gonna leave it on shuffle. See how that treats us. I have a few creepypastas lined up. Most of these I have never read before. It turns out if you Google media franchise and creepypasta, there is creepypasta for everything. I have 2 booba creepypastas. I have at least 1 Splatoon creepypasta. I have some of the short good ones. I don't have Mandor Handhook Car Door open, but we might get to that one. But let's start with the classics. Classics of Dead Bart. You might know Bart Simpson from Funny Haha Joke of Bart Simpson, Rude It's Rude. But this is about a secret lost episode of The Simpson. Where Bart is dead, I think, probably. I don't know. I don't remember. I feel like I've probably read this before. I don't know if I have. But we're gonna read it right now together. You know how Fox has a weird way of counting Simpsons episodes? They refuse to count a couple of them. This guy is so happy about Bart being dead. They refuse to count a couple of them, making the amount of episodes inconsistent. The reason for this is a lost episode from season 1. Hold on one sec. I gotta turn down the music in my ears so we can really get into it. There we go. Advertisements. Finding details about this missing episode is difficult. No one who was working on the show at the time likes to talk about it. From what has been pieced together, the lost episode was written entirely by Matt Groening. During production of the first season, Matt started to act strangely. He was very quiet, seemed nervous and morbid. I don't know how you can seem morbid, but he did it. Mentioning this to anyone who was present results in them getting very angry and forbidding you to ever mention it to Matt. The episode's production number was 7G44. The title was Dead Bart. In addition to getting angry, asking anyone who was on the show about this will cause them to do everything they can to stop you from directly communicating with Matt Groening. At a fan event, I managed to follow him after he spoke to the crowd, and eventually had a chance to talk to him alone as he was leaving the building. He didn't seem upset that I had followed him. Probably expected a typical encounter with an obsessive fan. When I mentioned the lost episode, though, all color drained from his face, and he started trembling. When I asked him if he could tell me any details, he sounded like he was on the verge of tears. He grabbed a piece of paper, wrote something on it, and handed it to me. He begged me never to mention the episode again. The piece of paper had a website address on it. I would rather not say what it was, for reasons you'll see in a second. I entered the address into my browser, and I came to a site that was completely black, except for a line of yellow text. A download link. I clicked on it, and a file started downloading. Once the file was downloaded, my computer went crazy. It was the worst virus I had ever seen. System restore didn't work. The entire computer had to be rebooted. Before doing this, though, wait. You mean like reformatted? You can reboot, like, I've had issues where, like, Microsoft Word freezes and I have to reboot my computer. That's not a virus. Before doing this, though, I copied the file onto a CD. I tried to open it on my now empty, he probably meant reformatted it, my now empty computer, and as I suspected, there was an episode of The Simpsons on it. The episode started off like any other episode, but it had very poor quality animation. If you've seen the original animation for Some Enchanted Evening, it was similar, but less stable. The first act was fairly normal, but the way the characters acted was a little off. Homer seemed angrier, Marge seemed depressed, Lisa seemed anxious. Bart seemed to have genuine anger and hatred for his parents. The episode was about the Simpsons going on a plane trip. Near the end of the first act, the plane was taking off. Bart was fooling around, as you'd expect. Bart has so much anger all of the time. Yeah, but this time, it was genuine anger and hatred for his parents. Is this scary so far? Is computer virus scary? Oh, the highlighting text is scary instead of fake anger. Yeah. Normally his anger is a childish ruse. He's not, yeah, it's called Bart's Dead or Dead Bart or something. He literally hasn't even died. He's alive and on a plane. Hold on, I just saw something about maybe him dying. Why was Lisa anxious? Okay, here we go. The episode was about the Simpsons going on a plane trip. Near the end of the first act, the plane was taking off. Bart was fooling around, as you'd expect. However, as the plane was about 50 feet off the ground, Bart broke a window on the plane and was sucked out. That answers the question. Bart dead. The end. Bart's dead. Wouldn't everybody else on the plane, like, also die? Eek, so scary. Welcome in, Hecka. 5-hour preamble. Why would it be so... Yeah, 50 feet isn't that high. Hold on. Hold on. I have a new thing that I can hide my browser with a quick thing, so I don't have to afraid of accidentally... The biggest scare of accidentally doxing myself. What'd it look like? Well... When I Google 50 feet off the ground, it gives me this picture of David Blaine in a spinning apparatus. Or this. Well, this is the world's shittiest illustration of a tree I've ever seen. That's you? You're in the circles? You're David Blaine? 50 feet? Yeah, 50 feet off the ground. Like, I feel like you could fall that and it would hurt a lot, but you would probably survive. What the heck is this? Wild. Anyway. Where is my dead Bart? Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't get sucked out of a plane. Like, the pressurization is not that bad. But maybe he jumped or something. Falling wouldn't be... Yeah, I feel like there's maybe a little bit of inconsistencies in this story so far, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe it turns it around. Sometimes the scariest things of all are the things you can't explain, like why planes suck you out at 50 feet up. At the beginning of the series, Matt had an idea that the animated style of The Simpsons world represented life, and that death turned things more realistic. What? Face when you critique a creepypasta? Listen, I'm in here for the realism. I'm in here for the you can't scare me if you're gonna tell me about how Bart's anger was real, but his sucked out of a plane was fake. How about the worst... honk. The worst virus you ever done see in your entire life just made you reboot your... Like, they tried one thing. System restore, and then they rebooted it. And then on the CD, there was an episode of The Simpsons. You just got an email from Akechi Persona 5. Is it telling you to buy the game, or is it a real creepypasta where it says, I know where you live, and there's blood in your teeth or something? Matt had an idea that the animated style of The Simpsons world represented life, and that death turned things more realistic. This was used in this episode. The picture of Bart's corpse was barely recognizable. They took full advantage of it not having to move and made an almost photorealistic drawing of his dead body. That's not how art works, but okay. It's an email telling you you bought something from the fundraiser for a zine, but Akechi was running the fundraiser. How do you think he got all his money for whatever he did in that game? I still haven't played it. I think maybe he's a good guy or a bad guy. Or both. Just like SpongeBob photorealistic image. I'll tell you, I have Squidward suicide on this list somewhere. That is a possibility to read tonight for the real photo of Squidward real. Let's go. I've got some good ones on here. Y'all know they make Splatoon creepypasta? Wait, what? Oh yeah, we're reading the scary stories. Advertisements. Act 1 ended with the shot of Bart's corpse. When Act 2 started... Did people talk about SpongeBob episodes, or I guess Simpsons episodes in acts? People still write creepypasta 2015 plus? Oh yeah! No, the classics of Ben Drowned, look at that, so scary. It was apparently from 2017. I thought this was older. That was like one of the first creepypastas I read. Wow. Wow. Act 1 ended with the shot of Bart's corpse. When Act 2 started, Homer, Marge, and Lisa were sitting at their table, crying. The crying went on and on. It got more pained and sounded more realistic. Better acting than you'd think possible. The animation started to decay even more as they cried, and you could hear murmuring in the background. This crying went on for all of Act 2. If it exists, people are going to make fanfics including pastas. It's so true. I have that Booba creepypasta that I read once, like a year or so ago. I don't remember why we were reading it, but it was really good and really bad. And I found another Booba creepypasta that's called Lost Episode Gun. So I want to see what that's about. I haven't read a creepypasta since I was in high school. Same. Same is the thing. Gun. Yeah, Booba Lost Episode Gun. I'm a mild spoiler alert, perhaps. I think there might be a gun in it. Advertisements. Act 3 opened with a title card saying 1 year had passed. No! Yeah. Homer, Marge, and Lisa were skeletally thin and still sitting at the table. There was no sign of Maggie or the pets. They decided to visit Bart's grave. Springfield was completely deserted. As they walked to the cemetery, the houses became more and more decrepit. They all looked abandoned. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just laying in front. Thank you for the follow, Mimselbop. Mimselbop? Relate to Mimsel Bear? Real Mims? Mims real? Doppelganger? Doppeldanger? 2 of them? Double of them? I hope you're ready to get scared, because it's about to get to the scariest. Like, the fact that they didn't even bury Bart, they just left him lying on front of the tombstone. People you don't like followed your account? Okay, valid. You could also just block them. Blocking is always an option. You didn't trust Doppels. Society. Valid. Anyway, fucking Bart is just lying there. The joke of Bart Simpson is dead. You can block them, but they can still watch your stream. Yeah, I guess that's true. That's weird. That's weird that they do it like that. But at least they can't, like, comment or anything. Is it not? I guess it's not an IP ban. It's just like, if you do the username ban and you ban that username from watching your stream, I guess they could just create a new stream too. Yeah, stalker vibes, scary. There's a creepypasta called, like, I read my stalker's letter, and I didn't put that one on the list. But if we want to get creepy about it, we can. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just lying in front of his tombstone, looking just like it did at the end of Act 1. That's not what it looked like at the end of Act 1, or did it? The family started crying again. Eventually, they stopped and just stared at Bart's body. The camera zoomed in on Homer's face. According to the summaries, Homer tells a joke at this part, but it isn't audible in the version I saw. You can't tell what Homer is saying. The views zoomed out as the episode came to a close. The tombstones in the background had the names of every Simpsons guest star on them, some that no one had heard of in 1989, some that haven't been on the show yet. All of them had death dates on them, for guests who died since, like Michael Jackson and George Harrison. The dates were when they would die. Advertisements. You can try to use the tombstones to predict the death of living Simpsons guest stars, but there's something odd about most of the ones who haven't died yet. All of their deaths are listed as the same date. What the fuck? What is this? Is that it? Hello? Anyway, that's Bart dies. That's the story of Bart, him dead, and he died. Look how scary it is. Yet the date is when the person watched the episode. I like how the scariest part is, like, celebrities are gonna die, and it knew. Simpsons knew it. Simpsons, they 2 out of 10 scares. Let's go ahead and read the Booba Lost episode gun. Is it this one? This one, here we go. Booba Lost episode gun. Let's zoom in real good here. I don't know how well you guys can read this text, but this one will surely be a treat. Does anybody remember the show Booba? That show, made by the same creator of Teletubbies? I honestly enjoyed it when I was little on ABC Kids. In fact, I am a fan of the show. I thought it was similar to Teletubbies, so that's how I got into it. Also, fair warning, I have not read most of these, so if they, like, that's them, that's the Boobas. If they get into, like, truly, like, gross or, like, offensive stuff, I'm probably just gonna peace out midway. It is a risk that we take. And most of these, I have a feeling, are going to end with some sort of suicide, so there's warning for that. But this one, I'm hoping it's just gun. There was one that I was, like, skimming through, and it got, like, real weird. Some of these might... I tried to get the ones that didn't look terrible. I think maybe we're going to be okay with Booba, but thank you, Nightbot. However, one lost episode exists. Just the one. It just haunts me whenever I'm mind my own business. It was a sunny day, and I was sitting at a table having a sandwich. After having it, I thought I might find another missing DVD buried around my yard. What? What do you mean another missing DVD buried around your yard? You just go digging in your yard and finding DVDs? Hello? Rent free. DVD mining what? Oh, hold on a second. I don't think I've reached the part where my head can explode, but I did disable it so it wouldn't explode while I was getting water. Here we go. My head can now explode again if we get too scared reading these stories. Just chilling, then remembering it. Booba with a gun! I grabbed my dad's metal detector, and it alerted me once I hovered it near my cat's shed. I grabbed a shovel, and beneath the ground was another cardboard box. How many... What is the prequel? Could we, what is the prequel? What missing DVD did they find before? Because this one, it's not a Booba's. Because they said one lost episode exists. If it was another Booba's, this would be 2 lost episodes exist. I took the box in and opened it up with scissors. Inside the box was a Booba DVD. It was Pearly Shells and More Booba Magic. I was surprised to find a rare DVD nobody knew of, so I decided to watch it. Before I put the DVD in, I noticed a very unnerving episode title for a preschooler show. Guns. Why would they stop showing me fucking Star Wars and The Boys? You cut that out. That's the jump scare of them all. Hang on, do boobas know magic? I honestly don't think they do. They're like little guys. I don't know if they do magic. Not just gun, but guns, multiple. More than at least 2. Why would they use a very mature episode title for a show for children aged 0 to 5? Bazookas. Y'all want to know that my parents were cleaning out like their boxes of stuff, and they found a creative writing story I wrote in either like 2nd or 3rd grade before I knew how to spell. And it was a fan fiction about Scooby-Doo and Crash Bandicoot finding a bazooka. So like, kids know about guns. However, I reassured myself the episode would just have toy guns. Hell yeah. When my parents came home, my mom approved of me finding the DVD. What does that mean? Good job, my child. I love when you dig up our backyard and find cursed CD player, CD DVD discs in the ground. Scooby and Crash Bandicoot crossover. I'm pretty sure they teamed up. Somebody got kidnapped. I don't remember who. It might have been like Crash Bandicoot got kidnapped and Scooby-Doo was trying to save him, or like the other way around. I don't think I saved that one. I took a lot of pictures of other things, mostly like Pokemon project covers that I drew in the 3rd grade, and like a science experiment about an egg. But I kind of wish I had saved that one, or like taken pictures or scanned it. On one rainy day, my parents were at work, and my older sister was spending time with her best friend. At that moment, I realized I should watch the new DVD I found. I inserted the DVD and the warning screen. ABC DVD ident and ABC for Kids ident were normal. It then took me to the menu. It consisted of the boobas in a pink background of the Boo Zone. That's the low-quality DVD menu. The 4 episodes on the DVD were Pearly Shells, Fairground Thing, Heavy Suitcase, and Guns. I hit play all, and I enjoyed the first 3 episodes. Oh boy, the last episode was entirely messed up. Yeah, 4 episodes. These things are only like 20 minutes long. Yeah, Heavy Suitcase is more sus. What's in there? Is there a body in there? A booba body? I'm like having a memory of the past, which is how most memories go. Unless you're having a memory of the future, in which case you're a precog. But somebody made like a Tumblr post about them transporting their like dead dog in a suitcase, and then somebody stole their luggage, and they just are walking around with a suitcase full of dead dog. That's probably what the boobas had. Very sad. After watching the first 3 episodes, there was a warning. This episode demands parents to prohibit their children from seeing this episode as it contains graphic imagery, disturbing content, and sudden sounds. Viewer discretion is advised. What a wild warning. This is bad, I told myself. I saw the lost episode for Teletubbies and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Sudden sounds, just like a jump scare. Get out of here. Shoo. Fucking anime movies. What anime you got for me? Kimetsu no Yaiba, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Narutopedia, Superpower Wiki. That's not anime. That's not anime. Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero, One Piece. Like, I feel like there should be different ones, but okay. I guess those are the most popular anime wikis. Superpower is your favorite anime? It's not an anime. It's just not an anime. The episode started with the intro. However, the sky was all blood red, of course. Also, the child narrator said, "Booba," in a demonic monotone. "What is going on?" I said, worrying for a bit. It's your fave. It's Superpower Wiki. Why don't you put that under TV or media or comics or... Hi, Zelda. At that moment, the boo ball... What is the boo ball? The boo ball emerged behind the ocean. It even flew toward two children from the UK. Instead of looking afraid of the blood red sky, they were still excited to see the boo ball. The boo ball. The boo ball then flew to Australia, but the Australian children also didn't mind the blood red sky. After departing Sydney, the boo ball landed in a green hill, but for some reason, blood splattered as it did. Yeah, where are the guns? This is just about blood sky and blood sky. We were told guns. We were promised guns. Give gun. I gasped. What the hell just happened? I said to myself. All of the white in the boo zone was all red, supposedly meant to represent blood. How do you know that? I was starting to feel very uneasy and nauseous, but I carried on with the episode. You want Booba with a Glock? I'm actually really curious to see what kind of gun it is. My money's on just pistol. Like, this kid probably doesn't know what a gun is. It's either going to be something like extremely specific, like it's a Desert Eagle 560, or it's going to be like the Booba had a real gun. TM. Then it zoomed into the boo ball and showed the boobas sleeping in their pods. Everything was normal. After the boobas went to the dance zone as they ran around, the child narrator mentioned Hingba. I was confused. Who is Hingba, I wondered. Just then, a green booba flew into the shot and ran up to the screen and stared at the camera. I'm guessing this is Hingba, I told myself. Hingba stared at the screen uncomfortably. I got chills down my spine. Just then, Hingba then walked away from the camera and performed one of the warm-up dances, twirly booba hops. The 5 booba joined Hingba. As soon as the boobas danced too fast, the rainbow wave washed in front of them. However, after the rainbow wave disappeared, the background of the boo zone was all dark red. The 6 boobas then sucked their heads in and flew into the sky. However, Hingba, on the other hand, didn't join the boobas to fly into the boo ball. They just flew straight up high into the sky. I carried on to the present giving segment. The children delivered the present... Wait. Do they have a segment in Booba where they give people presents every episode? The children delivered the presents as normal. The present was in a medium size, but not too big. The children delivered the present as normal. The present was in a medium size, but not too big. Oh, the gun? When the present went up into the boo ball, the present was, Mother of God, a gun. Just then, the child narrator read the story people's names in order as normal, and it cut to the Story World segments. Get out of here, movies. The gun, then, was put on the grass on the fields. Just then, the Somebody's Coming theme played, but it was in reverse. I got the narrators writing the story exactly how they would say it out loud, right? They're just like, Mother of God, it was a gun. Somebody's coming, the narrator said. It's a gun, the Story World narrator said. But then, brother and sister appeared on opposite sides. They then noticed the gun. Brother then picks up the gun and examined it. He was confused about what it is. He tried using the gun for what it is meant to do. But just then, he pulled the trigger and shot it into a distance, narrowly avoiding sister... Wait, what? What? He tried using the gun for what it is meant to do. It's meant to shoot, right? But then he pulled the trigger and shot it, which is what it's meant to do. Brother seemed interested in the gun and thought it might be a toy. Sister was disappointed she didn't have a gun. Honestly, fair. Sister doesn't have a gun, said the narrator. At that moment, Booba, said the child narrator, once the screen froze. Guns. Oh, right, because there's got to be two of them. It's multiple guns. There was a sound of a child blowing, and Sister was given a gun. The sister was glad she was given a gun. She even decided to try it out as well. Sister then pointed the gun to Brother's leg, trying to check how the gun works. However, she suddenly pulled the trigger and shot it straight into Brother's leg. Brother then fell to the ground and held his injured leg in pain. Hope she got a shotgun. It doesn't say, it's just gun TM. Ow, what was that for, sister? Brother said. I was quite surprised to hear one of the story people speak. Normally, there are sound effects for the story people depending on what their emotions are, but we finally get to hear them speak for the first time. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, brother, Sister shouted in horror. I would never hurt my own brother. You both have to get rid of those things. They're too dangerous to be kept, the narrator advised. Brother and sister tried stomping on the guns while the narrator spoke, but suddenly, Brother's gun was pointed diagonally up towards Sister and he accidentally shot Sister without once he stepped on it. What is... Oh. I'm trying to figure out the logistics of this situation. I don't think you can accidentally fire a gun with your foot. What? He accidentally shot Sister. Get out of here, Buzz Lightyear. Shoo. Accidentally shot Sister without once he stomped on it. Sister held her chest in pain. Once she moved her hand away, there was a small wound. Oh my god, I croaked. I was shocked to see a realistic wound on a character from a children's television series. Sister then collapsed to the ground, losing her breath. Sister, no! Brother screamed. Brother then held his now deceased sister in his arms and cried softly. In fact, his sobbing sounded very real. It didn't sound very comical, unlike usual cartoons. Booba's not a cartoon. These are live paid actors. Brother is now depressed, the narrator moaned. Brother is now depressed, the narrator moaned. Brother continued crying. He never wanted to hurt or harm his sister, even by accident, but he realized the one thing to avenge his sister is meet her in the afterlife. Brother is now depressed. This is a classic story of, like, I don't know why I said classic story, but, like, I killed someone and the only way to avenge you is to kill myself. That's not how this works. That's not how avenging works, I think. Brother, still in tears. Story would be better if it was an American Kid show. Honestly, American Kids, stop it, fucking Baby Groot, Yodo. American shows are allowed to have gun. Brother, still in tears, picked up Sister's gun and pointed it to his mouth. I'm sorry, Brother said. He pulled the trigger and he finally shot himself. Goodbye, the narrator said sadly. They get revenge for the one they accidentally killed, thus they are avenged. Does it work that way, though? If it's an accident, can you avenge it? Before we cut to the final Booba segment, the children were crying other than laughing. Obviously, because the Story World segment was very depressing and off the scale. Psh, psh, finally. It finally cut to the Boobas again, with the sixth member. This time, Hingba is leading the dance. There he is, there's Hingba. They were dancing commonly in the middle, while the Boobas followed them. Hingba performed lots of similar dances, like twirly booba hops, lift your feet to the beat, be ready for lots of bouncing, Stop and Go, and more. However, as soon as the dance was almost over, Hingba walked towards Zumba. Zumba got concerned about what Hingba was going to do to them. At that moment, Hingba pulled out a hatchet and threw it in Zumba's forehead. Zumba screeched as they slowly died. Humba, Zing Zing Zingba, Jumba, and Jingba stared in shock seeing their friend die. Yeah, what? Why is... This is... Don't go to the One Piece wiki. This is about guns, not hatchet. This is called Guns. Yeah, exactly. This isn't the hatchet episode. And what was in the heavy suitcase? Hingba then slowly turned to the four Booba as their eyes turned red. The four Boobas ran away from Hingba, who turned out to be a Turned out to be a hypocritical Booba exterminator. I don't know what that means. Jingba? There it is. That's the sound that it made when Hingba ran around with the hatchet. Jingba flew into the sky and Hingba followed them. Hingba gained onto Jingba until the former grabbed the latter by the legs. Hingba summoned a throwing knife and stabbed Jingba in the back of the leg, killing the latter. Okay, so Hingba's got ninjutsu now. Jingba fell to their doom as the throwing knife was stuck to the back of their leg. Do they fly from their legs? Zing Zing Zingba ran to the present-giving area to hide. They hid behind one of the large orbs. I also very much appreciate the gender-neutral language for all these boobas. They could have very easily just been like, sure, this one's guy because it's blue and this one's girl because it's pink. At that moment, Hingba teleported in front of Zing Zing Zingba, and the former then pulled out a gun and shot the latter 2 times. This is someone who learned about former and latter in their, 5th grade English class, and are having a blast trying it out in their funny fanfiction creepypasta writing. Humba was trying to break through the walls of the Boo Zone to escape and find a safer place to live, but Hingba suddenly flew up to them and used a flamethrower on them to burn them alive. Humba now had soot all over them, and they fell to the ground, dying. Jumbo was the last Booba remaining. They had the best hiding place, which is hiding behind the largest orb they could find. Just then, Hingba teleport. Why can Hingba teleport? Hingba teleported in front of them and held them in the air by the throat. Hingba finally spoke, unlike any of the main Boobas. You 5 Boobas mean nothing to me. I was hired by the Planet Eliminator to exterminate you. I'm sorry, but things must be the way they have to be. Good riddance. Hingba's eyes glowed red and white, and they used heat vision on Jumba's eyes. Hingba then let go of the now dead Jumba, leaving them to drop on the ground. Why would they want the Booba dead? I don't know. Why does he have heat vision? All of the Boobas had died. Why would Hingba kill such innocent creatures? Well, I think we're about to get your answer. What did they do? We don't know. Just then, the rainbow wave then crashed over Hingba, and the same child narrator saying, Booba, came back. I got chills again. Hingba then flew into the Boo Ball and hijacked it. As soon as the energy came back in the Boo Ball, it flew high into the sky, leaving a rainbow trail. The credits then played as normal, but there was no music, just the sound of the ocean. I felt very unnerved. I gritted my teeth in concern. After the credits, the Ragdoll logo played. However, the background was red, and there was a loud screeching sound when the logo's mouth was drawn. I cringed at the choice of screeching sound. What the hell is going on? Just then, the same red-tinted ABC DVD logo from the Teletubbies DVD I discovered played. But when the DVD logo flew in, I heard a woman shrieking. The shriek scared the living crap out of me. It then cut to the DVD menu. I ejected the disc in disbelief. I called my mom about the DVD being messed up. I showed her the evidence and she believed me. We found ABC DVD and Ragdoll, and the reasons were pretty much the same as the lost episode of Teletubby. I asked Mom what we should do with it. She suggested to bury it. You're just gonna dig this up again in a month and forget you dug it up. You're like, time to find another cursed DVD. Oh, what is this? Boobas and the pearly shinies and the gun? Let's watch it. I believe that the maker of this episode is the same man who produced those 2 lost Teletubby episodes. You should always think before you watch a lost DVD you find underground. I am always being faced with this issue. I am always finding lost DVDs underground and, like, should I play them? Should I not? I just don't know. Incredible. Absolutely wonderful. I'll go next time to the DVD vault. Let's take a little break with Who Was Phone. That's a good one. Okay, so basically it's like this. You are at a best friend's house for, like, the night or whatever, and then you guys are making out on the couch, yeah, and then, like, her dad calls on the phone and says, no, she likes it more if you use the other hand, yeah, and you are like, oh, dude, your dad is trying to give me advice on how to diddle you, and she was like, I don't have a dad, or whatever, but what? Who was phone? Like, that has a reading time. Yeah, creepypasta lets you know how fast you can read these. Also, so you're with your honey and you're making out when the phone rings. I got so scared by Who Was Phone. Oh my god. You're with your honey and you're making out when phone rings. You answer into voices. What are you doing with my daughter? You tell the girl and she say, my dad is dead. Then Who Was Phone? Hey, Chris girl, welcome in, welcome in. We're reading so scary stories. Why did Himbot get scared? Oh, Himbot got scared because my head exploded. I need to move this pumpkin somewhere safer. Anyway, that's very important. Y'all want to read Squidward Suicide? More like hilarious stories. We're reading so scary. Look at this one. He's got red eyes, so you know it's scary. It's 7 minutes reading time. Let's go. I just want to start off by saying if you want an answer at the end, prepare to be disappointed. There just isn't one. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2015 for my degree in animation. It's realistic bloody eyes. It's gonna be so scary y'all don't even know. I wasn't paid, of course. Most internships aren't. But it did have some perks beyond education. To adults, it might not seem like a big one, but most kids at the time would go crazy over it. Now, since I worked directly with the editors and animators, I got to view the new episodes days before they aired. But you like Squidward? Oh, you're gonna get so scared about Squidward you don't even know. This is about the one where he's sad and mad and just die, just like Bart dead, but this one's Squidward dead. I'll get right to it without giving too many unnecessary details. They had a very recently made the SpongeBob movie, and the entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity, so it took them longer to start up the season. But the delay lasted longer for more upsetting reasons. There was a problem with the Series 4 premiere that set everyone and everything back for several months. Me and 2 other interns were in the editing room, along with the lead animators and sound editors for the final cut. We received the copy that was supposed to be Fear of a Krabby Patty, and gathered around the screen to watch. And Nightbot apparently likes this one a lot. Now, given that it isn't final yet, animators often put up a mock title card, sort of an inside joke for us, with the phony, oftentimes lewd titles such as How Sex Doesn't Work instead of Rockabye Bivalve, when SpongeBob and Patrick adopt a sea scallop. You know that episode. Nothing particularly funny, but work-related chuckles. So when we saw the title card, Squidward's Suicide, we didn't think of anything more than a morbid joke. One of the interns did a small throat laugh at it. The happy-go-lucky music plays as is normal. The story begins with Squidward practicing his clarinet, hitting a few sour notes like normal. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside, and Squidward stops, yelling at him to keep it down as he has a concert that night and needs to practice. SpongeBob says, okay, and goes to see Sandy with Patrick. The Bubbles splash screen comes up, and we see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is when things begin to seem off. What kind of workflow? Yeah, like, I don't know how, like, a writer's room, right? Writer's room first, and then storyboards, and then do some revisions, and then animators. This one looks like they had the animators in there, like, Yeah, they don't put the title on any other documentation. I don't know. I don't know. While playing, a few frames repeat themselves, but the sound doesn't. At this point, the sound is synced up with the animation, so yes, that's not common. But when he stops playing, the sound finishes as if the skip never happened. There's a slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo him. Not normal cartoon booing that is common in the show, but you could very clearly hear malice in it. Squidward's in full frame and looks visibly afraid. The shot goes to the crowd with SpongeBob in center frame, and he too is booing. Very much unlike him. SpongeBob would never do this. That isn't the oddest thing, though. What's odd is everyone had hyper-realistic eyes. Very detailed. Clearly not shots of real people's eyes, but something a bit more real than CGI. The pupils were red. Some of us looked at each other, obviously confused. But since we weren't the writers, we didn't question its appeal to children yet. Hello? Yeah, it's always the hyper-realistic eyes, hyper-realistic gun, hyper-realistic dead body of Bart. Why didn't you question it? You were in the, testing room, watching the test copy. That's when you're supposed to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't make the eyes really weird and creepy. Children won't like it. The shot goes to Squidward sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view out of his porthole window is of a night sky, so it isn't very long after the concert. Mans doesn't know they do the final animation in Korea, yeah! The unsettling part is, at this point, there is no sound. Literally no sound. Not even the feedback from the speakers in the room. It's as if the speakers were turned off, though their status showed them working perfectly. He just sat there, blinking, in this silence for about 30 seconds. Then he started to sob softly. He put his hands, tentacles, over his eyes and cried quietly for a full minute more. All the while, a sound in the background, very slowly growing from nothing to barely audible. It sounded like a slight breeze through a forest. Hands, tentacles. The screen slowly begins to zoom in on his face. By slow, I mean it's only noticeable if you look at shots 10 seconds apart side by side. His sobbing gets louder, more full of hurt and anger. The screen then twitches a bit, as if it twists in on itself for a split second, then back to normal. The wind through the trees sound gets slowly louder and more severe, as if a storm is brewing somewhere. The eerie part is this sound, and Squidward's sobbing sounded real. As if they were real sounds and not fake sounds. As if the sound wasn't coming from the speakers, but as if the speakers were holes the sound was coming out. As if the sound wasn't coming from the speakers, but as if the speakers were holes the sound was coming through from the other side. That's how speakers work, my friend. That's how speakers kind of work. They are holes that sounds come out of. Hello? Hello? What does it mean? Hey, what does that mean? Hey, bud, what does that mean? As good as sound as the studio likes to have, they don't purchase the equipment to be that good to produce sound of that quality. Below the sound of the wind and sobbing, very faint, something sounded like laughing. Hee hee hoo hoo. It came at odd intervals and never lasted more than a second, so you had a hard time pinning it. We watched the show twice, so pardon me if things sound too specific, but I've had time to think about them. Teehee. I don't remember anything I've seen twice. So I guess some people just have good memory. After 30 seconds of this, the screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed over the screen as if a single frame was replaced. The lead animator editor paused and rewound frame by frame. What we saw was horrible. It was a still photo of a dead child. He couldn't have been more than 6. The face was mangled and bloodied, one eye dangling over, over his upturned face popped. He was naked down to his underwear, his stomach crudely cut open and his entrails laying beside him. He was laying on some pavement. That was probably a road. The most upsetting part was that there was a shadow of the photographer Why is that the most upsetting part? There was no crime tape, no evidence tags or markers, and the angle was completely off for a shot designed to be evidence. It would seem the photographer was the person responsible for the child's death. We were, of course, mortified, but pressed on, hoping it was just a sick joke. Well, going from, like, the Bart dead, apparently if you have a still photo that's not moving, you can draw it more realistic, almost like it looks like a real body because it's not moving and you have the ability to do that. So that's probably just what happened here. Why do you think of the kid from Amori taking the pictures? We do got Amori music playing in the background, or at least we did. The screen flipped back to Squidward, still sobbing, louder than before, and half body in frame. There was now what appeared to be blood running down his face from his eyes. The blood was also done in a hyper-realistic style, looking as if you touched it, you'd get blood on your fingers. The wind sounded now as if it were that of a gale blowing through the forest. There were even snapping sounds of branches, the laughing, a deep baritone, lasting at longer intervals and coming more frequently. After about 20 seconds, the screen again twisted and showed a single frame photo. The editor was reluctant to go back. We all were. But he knew what he had to do. This time, the photo was of what appeared to be a little girl, no older than the first child. She was lying on her stomach, her barrettes in a pool of blood next to her. Eye is gross, also naked, entrails, body straight, photo shadow. I had to choke back vomit, and one intern, the only female in the room, ran out. The show resumed. Advertisements. About 5 seconds after this second photo played, Squidward went silent, as did all sound, like it was when this scene started. He put his tentacles down, and his eyes were now done in hyperrealism like the others were in the beginning of this episode. They were bleeding, bloodshot, and pulsating. He just stared at the screen, as if watching the viewer. After about 10 seconds, he started sobbing, this time not covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud, and most fear-inducing of all is his sobbing was mixed with screams. Tears and blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. The wind sound came back. So did the deep-voiced laughing. Oh, it was deep-voiced. And this time, the still photo lasted for a good 5 frames. The animator was able to stop it on the 4th and backed up. This time, the photo was of a boy. This time, they was in the middle of being murdered. Got it. The animator proceeded. It was hard to believe, but the next one was different, but we couldn't tell what. He went on to the next, same thing. He went back to the first and played them quicker, and I lost it. I vomited on the floor, and the animating and sound editors gasping at the screen. The 5 frames were not as they were 5 different photos. They were played out as if they were frames from a video. We saw the hand slowly lift out the guts. We saw the kid's eyes focus on it, and even saw 2 frames of the kid beginning to blink. It's 5 frames. That's nothing. That's like, that you can't tell if a kid is beginning to blink. The lead sound editor told us to stop. He had to call the creator to see this. Mr. Hillenberg arrived within 15 minutes. He was confused as to why he was called down there, so the editor just continued the episode. Once the few frames were shown, all screaming, all sound again stopped. Squidward was just staring at the viewer, full frame of the face, for about 3 seconds. The shot quickly panned out, and that deep voice said, "Do it." And we see in Squidward's hands a shotgun. He immediately puts the gun in his mouth, and he pulls the trigger. Realistic blood and brain matter splatters the wall behind him, and his bed, and he flies back with the force. The last 5 seconds of this episode show his body on the bed and his side, one eye dangling on what's left of his head on the floor, staring blankly at it. Then the episode ends. Mr. Hillenberg is obviously angry at this. He demanded to know what the heck was going on. Most people left the room at this point, so it was just a handful of us to watch it again. Viewing the episode twice only served to imprint the entirety of it in my mind and cause me horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. Advertisements. The only theory we could think of was the file was edited by someone in the chain from the drawing studio to here. The CTO was called in to analyze what happened. The analysis of the file did show it was edited over by new material. However, the timestamp of it was a mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. All equipment involved was examined for foreign software and hardware, as well as glitches, as if the timestamp may have glitched and showed the wrong time. But everything checked out fine. I don't think you can do that. I don't know if there's like a way to be like, I wonder if our computer glitched out. Like, that seems really hard to check for. We don't know what happened, and to this day, nobody does. There was an investigation due to the nature of the photos, but nothing came of it. No child scene was identified, and no clues were gathered from the data involved, nor physical clues in the photos. I never believed in unexplainable phenomena before, but now that I have something happen and can't prove anything about it beyond anecdotal evidence, I think twice about things. So scary! I'm gonna put my head back real quick. So scary! We can close this tab now. We can close, Dead Bart. Let's read, The Day of All the Blood. That's a good one. It's a nice short one. I'm very scared. Don't, listen, if you're scared, everything will be okay. This is the story of a day where there was all this blood. A man was walking around and blood started coming out of him everywhere. There was so much blood that it filled up an elevator. He went to the store and there was just blood all over the place. People were slipping in it and they were all grossed out. He tried to go swimming and all of the sharks went nuts and bit into everybody. He got chased by all the vampires ever. One time the blood got a kid and a dog. At the end of the day, everyone decided they would send him to space so they would stop getting blood everywhere. The scariest part is that the man was you. Or he was a lady if you were a lady. And you forgot that this happened. Furby is also scary. No, Furby's your friend. Furby is here to protect you. It's so scary. So scary. I can close this Google for Booba Creepypasta. This one's an SCP. This one is, I think, actually supposed to be I have a couple of these that are supposed to be actually scary. We can get rid of, this. You say Ronald? Ronald? Is that this one? Oh, Ronald Reagan, cut up while talking. What? The fuck? Okay, no, we're reading Creepypasta now. I want to know what that's about. I Googled, like, Reddit best creepypastas. No, phone, don't actually do that. And I don't know, this one was like, people were like, this is a good one. SCP 1981. Object class safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-1981 is to be kept inside a secure video storage unit at the media archive of site. When in use, SCP-1981 should not be removed from its casing or exposed to any strong magnetic sources. A Betamax home video system and an analog television have been provided in Observation Theater 2 at site, as well as video equipment to record viewings. Description. SCP-1981 is a standard Betamax tape. Ronald Reagan cut up while talking. Has been handwritten on the adhesive sticker in felt tip pen. Laboratory analysis indicates that SCP-1981 is made of ordinary material and serial numbers correspond with home cassette tapes produced in September of 1980. Cut up while talking. I can't help hearing cut up and thinking, like, cutting up the dance floor. Like, I keep expecting Ronald Reagan to start, like, doing a jig. Let's see. Laboratory, normal material, cassette tapes. SCP-1981 was initially encountered by a filing clerk in the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in 1991, who upon watching it alerted the police with the intent to find the tape's creator to press obscenity charges. A low-level police investigation was conducted, at which point the Foundation was alerted and secured SCP-1981. Class A amnestics were administered before could be notified. Further investigation of the library's records by Foundation personnel failed to yield any leads on SCP-1981's origin. SCP-1981 appears to be a home video recording of former United States President Ronald Reagan delivering his Evil Empire speech to the National Association of Evangelicals in Sheraton Twin Towers Hotel, Orlando, Florida on March 8th, 1983. Hello, Pitter Patter. Can I help you? You are on my desk. There's no room for you up here, my girl. I'm gonna pick you up and shake you. She doesn't take my threats seriously. Pitter Patter? Can I help you? Ma'am? Ma'am? She's just standing there. Do you like the Ronald Reagan cut-up tape, SCP? Do you even understand? Do you know what a Betamax is? I barely know what a Betamax is. However, at 1 minute and 10 seconds, the speech begins to deviate heavily, eventually resembling no known speech ever made by Reagan. Beginning at approximately 5 minutes, multiple incisions, lacerations, and penetration wounds can be seen slowly inflicted, though no corresponding source of these wounds is visible. Despite suffering bodily harm that would likely incapacitate an ordinary person, Reagan will continue to deliver his speech until either his vocal cords are severed or the tape degrades to a static at 22 minutes and 34 seconds. Or is that? Yeah, that's that. It's gotta be that. There's no way that's 22 hours. Upon rewinding SCP-1981 and initiating playback, Reagan will deliver an entirely new speech, often radically different from the ones previously observed. This is just a tape that hates Ronald Reagan so much. Topics have included torture, child molestation, ritual sacrifice. Trauma inflicted upon Reagan also appears to be divergent, with impalement, genital manipulation on the video, but it's just his head. I'm concerned. And redacted, having all been observed. In roughly 1 in 7 viewings of SCP-1981, a figure clothed in black robes with a conical hood will have replaced a random member of Reagan's press detail, henceforth referred to as SCP-1981-1. The significance of the appearance of SCP-1981-1 is currently unknown. It is SCP-1981's friend who also hates Ronald Reagan. You are that tape. The speeches delivered by Reagan are mostly incoherent, lacking any sort of underlying thematic structure, and largely being composed of nonsensical anecdotes and parables. However, occasionally references are made to future events that Reagan could not possibly have known about or predicted, such as the September 11th terrorist attacks, the result of the 2008 Russian elections, and For this reason, a rigorous time and effort has been devoted to recording the speech delivered on each playback. Attempts to replicate SCP-1981 onto a similar Betamax tape have been met with failure. However, cameras used to record the television SCP-1981 is broadcasted onto have succeeded in capturing individual playbacks. Any observations performed on SCP-1981 must be recorded on the camcorder provided and delivered for subsequent review to Dr. Project Supervisor. Oh, Pitter Patter, you're back. You have anything to say? No, you're just walking. Years of natural magnetic interference have severely degraded SCP-1981's signal quality, making it even more difficult to sift meaningful information from playbacks. Additionally, the gruesome nature of the mutilations performed upon Reagan has been described as extremely disturbing, and for this reason, it is recommended that any personnel feeling squeamish or ill after playback visit the on-site psychiatry facility for a Level 3 evaluation. As Ronald Reagan was alive at the time of SCP-1981's containment, a surveillance net was deployed to establish any relationship between him and SCP-1981. No known connection was developed, though Reagan would frequently complain about nightmares before his mental state degraded due to Alzheimer's. There he is. Note the presence of SCP-1981-1. Wait, oh, this one? Triangle? That's pretty cool. The red links have more content? Wait, there's more? Oh, there's more! Reagan, a renewal of traditional values that have been, I don't know what Reagan sounds like, that have been the tendons of this country's strength. One recent survey by a Washington-based researcher concluded that Americans were far more willing to participate in cannibalism than they have been in the past 100 years. America is a nation that will not suffer abominations lightly. 7. And that is the core of awakening. 12. 18. We will stop Al-Qaeda. There you go again. Applause. For the first time we have risen, and I see we are being consumed. I see circles that are not circles, billions of dead souls inside containment. Unravelers have eaten country's moral fabric, turning hearts into filth. I am from a kingdom level above human. What does that yield? A hokey smile that damns an entire nation. There is no hope. Applause. Reagan winces back as if experiencing severe pain. Several new lacerations begin to manifest across bare eye socket, as well as punctures appearing to penetrate forehead and temples. Remainder of left arm is now cleanly bisected. Thank you, Nightbot. Further consensus has proven that over half of all Americans still hate. Eaten whole by void, the emptiness, the sadness, the blackness, the darkness. Ha 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 ha. Laughter continues until signal degrades into static. Love to be eaten by the void. America is the #1 country of being eaten by the void, and we intend to keep it that way. I've been to the steel mills of Alaska and the cornfields of Nebraska. I've seen the derelict offices in Google burn with the window boarded up and the squatters inside them. I've seen the houses where they cut up little babies. From coast to shining coast, I have walked empty down drooling path indecipherable, the decaying flesh of false morality poisoning our children. I have stood atop the mountain of this greedy earth and looking upon our beautiful pious pit, filled to bursting with the vast hands of helplessness. And do you know what I saw? Hell. The audience erupts into laughter. Muffled voice can be heard behind the camera. Now there you go again. Laughter proceeds to die down. But truly now, we live in a fortunate time. This is a fortunate time. Time is on our side. Laughter. A stitch in 9 saves time. So, now there you go again. Is that something that, like, Reagan actually said a lot? I feel like it probably is. Either that or, SCP-1981's trying to establish a catchphrase. There are your... Why is this song on the spooky playlist? This isn't a spooky song. This is a Sonic song. It's probably a quote from the real speech. Honestly, yeah. That tracks. That sounds right. There are your truths and there are my truths. There are known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown indecipherable. Some of them are in the audience right now. At this stage, wounds inflicted on Reagan's neck appear to be so severe that it can no longer support the head. The speech degenerates into gurgles as Reagan violently jerks forward, spine being severed cleanly from the head, only being loosely connected to the body by strands of muscle tissue. Body remains animate for the next 3 minutes and continues to gesture as the spinal column appears to be withdrawn. I'm just imagining, like, what did you miss? You hear Reagan? Yeah, Ronald Reagan's spooky tapes. I'm just imagining, like, a body with the head, like, flopping around and then, like, the arms gesturing as if they're giving a speech. And if you don't hydrate, yeah, I can take a sippy. If you don't imagine it with the hyper-realistic blood, if you imagine it as more like a cartoony thing, it's kind of hilarious to think about. The head is definitely flopping. I am so hydrated on this Hallows Eve. Anyway, tape degrades to static. Think of everything as cartoony. I simply view the world through, we can't see that one. We don't have 0.5 level clearance. Long shot of podium as well as empty chairs normally occupied by Reagan and entourage. Curiously, this is the only recording that lacks both the intertitles and the presence of Ronald Reagan. Camera zooms in on podium. Entity known as SCP-1981-1 enters the shot from left and stands at podium. Remains motionless for remainder of film. Tape flashes to a single frame intertitle with the words, "I see you," colored in red. Holds for 7 seconds, then immediately cuts to static. No further signal for remainder of tape. I see you. This is the last known sighting of SCP-1981-1. SCP-1981-1 has been absent in all subsequent playbacks. If observed, staff are advised not to attempt to communicate with SCP-1881-1 and to alert any Level 4 supervisors on duty. Ronald Reagan is the scariest part of this story, I think. Alright. Do y'all want to read Splatoon Creepypasta The Bloodlings, Mr. Widemouth, Can't Turn Back.exe, I'm a grown logical man crying tears of horror right now, or the story of her holding an orange? Psychosis. The Pokemon Creepy Black. You just read The Day of All the Blood. Candle Cove. Sonic EXE. As soon as you said Hallow's Eve, Halloween themed song came on, so that was funny. Oh, hell yes. Or there's also Ben Drowned, classics of Zeldos. I think Candle Cove is a short one. So we can do that real quick. Don't care about the overview. Net Nostalgia Forum Television Local. Skyshale 33. Subject. Candle Cove Local Kids Show? Does anybody remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and I must have been 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was on a local station around 1971 or 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 p.m. Yeah, Ben Drowned is like one of the most like top creepypastas. Mike Painter 65. It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland and was 9 years old in 72. Candle Cove. Was it about pirates? I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl. Yes! Okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls. Real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll. Looked like an antique that didn't belong on the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF, though. It was Jaren. Jaren, 2005. Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what show you mean. Skyshale. I think Candle Cove only ran for a couple months in 71, not 72. I was 12 and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was Channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me switch to it after the news. Let me see what I can remember. It took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. The pirate ship was called the Laughingstock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was calliope music constantly playing. Don't remember the girl's name, Janice or Jade or something. I think it was Janice. Skyshales. Thank you, Jaren. Memories flooded back when you mentioned the Laughingstock in Channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship. Is it bow of the ship? The bow of the ship was a wooden smiling face. The lower jaw submerged. It looked like it was swallowing the sea and had that awful Ed Wynn voice and laugh. I especially remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked. I remember now too. Do you remember remember this part, Skyshale? You have to go inside. Ugh, Mike, I got a chill reading that. Yes, I remember. That's what the ship always told Percy when there was a spooky place he had to go in. Like a cave or a dark room where the treasure was, and the camera would push in on Laughingstock's face with each pause. You have to go inside! With his 2 eyes askew and that flopping foam jaw and the fishing line that opened and closed it. Ugh, it looks so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above a really tall, narrow teeth. Kevin Hart. I honestly thought the villain was Pirate Percy. I was about 5 when this show was on. Nightmare Fuel. Jaren. That wasn't the villain, the puppet with the mustache. That was the villain's sidekick, Horace Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that meant he only had one eye. But yeah, the villain was another marionette, the Skin Taker. I can't believe they let us watch this back then. Kevin Hart. Jesus H. Christ, the Skin Taker. What kind of kids show were we watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the Skin Taker showed up. He just descended out of nowhere on his strings, just a dirty skeleton wearing that brown top hat and cape, and his glass eyes that were too big for his skull. Christ almighty. Skyshale. Wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn up crazily? Was that supposed to be children's skin? Mike Painter. Yeah, I think so. Remember his mouth didn't open and close? His jaw just slid back and forth? I remember the little girl said, "Why does your mouth move like that?" And the Skin Taker didn't look at the girl but at the camera and said, "To grind your skin." Skyshale. I'm so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream, where where the opening jingle ended, this show faded in from black and the characters were there, but the camera was just cutting to each of their faces and they were just screaming, and the puppets and marionettes were flailing spastically, just all screaming, and the girl just moaning and crying like she'd been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. Kevin Hart. I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. I remember that was an episode. Skyshale. No, not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, literally just standing in place, crying and screaming for the whole show. Kevin Hart. Maybe I'm manufacturing the memory because you said that, but I swear to God, I remember seeing what you described. They just screamed. Jaren. Oh God, yes, the little girl Janice. I remember seeing her shake, and the skin taker screaming through his gnashing teeth, his jaw careening so wildly I thought it would come off its wire hinges. I turned it off, and it was the last time I watched. I ran to tell my brother, and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. Mike. I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her about when I was little in the early 70s, when I was 8 or 9, and she remembered a kids' show, Candle Cove. She said she was surprised I could remember that, and I asked why. And she said, because I used to think it was so strange that you said, I'm gonna go watch Candle Cove now, Mom. And then you would tune the TV to static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had a big imagination with your little pirate show. Bum, bum, bum. The spooky was that it was the fake all along, but all of them had the same fake. Whoa, that's so spooky. Oh, that's so spooky. Did you spooked? Did you scared about it? The screaming and the crying? And the pirate and the foam? Let's, for the spookiness. Oh, claps for the spookiness. A thanky clinky. Let's read some Ben Drowned. I haven't read this one in a very long time, but look at that face. How could you ever look at this face and say no? It says it's a very long one. It can't possibly be that long, right? Right, like it can't possibly be that long. That's him, that's Ben Drowned. Why is there like an intro here that's like in the second person? We're not reading that. We don't need the synopsis. We don't need origins. Oh, right, because it was split up. It was on 4chan. Everything's gonna be okay. Sammy and the Gerbil and his muffin adventure is too scary. Hold on. Hold on. Where's the other Booba creepypasta? Did I close it? I might have closed it. Hold on. Ah, Furby. Furby is there to comfort you if things get too scary. Why is this on the Spooky Sounds playlist? This is just some, like, nice... Furby's here to claim when Soul I'm too lost. It's fine. Furby's fine. Okay, I got confused because you said, Sammy the Gerbil and his muffin adventure, and I was thinking about guinea pigs, guinea poppins. I don't know what a Chiweenie is. Is it a Chihuahua weenie dog? Chewbacca? This is the Booba scary pasta that we read before, where like it kept saying like life is not about anything, it is the consequences. I forgot to ask if anyone dresses anything for Halloween. You dress as Walmart Orochimaru? What is that? Is that Orochimaru made from things you found at Walmart? Or is that like Orochimaru if he was a Walmart greeter? Thank you, Nightbot. Because those are two very different, very good costumes. We can read Caillou Lost episode. That's probably fine. Low quality Orochimaru? Hell yeah. I just wore a Bones shirt. I got a cool shirt that has like a rib cage on it. And I just did that. I was thinking about digging out one of my cosplays, but I don't remember what box it's in and I got too lazy. I simply wanted to read manga and play video games instead. And so I did. Hi there. My name is Oliver. You see, my 4-year-old cousin Daniel is a huge fan of Caillou. Every time it comes on, his eyes are glued to the TV. When I heard that he was visiting with me over Christmas holiday, I was pretty excited. I felt like giving him a Caillou DVD as a special ed gift. His special edition? Special education? Hello? Didn't two girls stab their friends to keep away the Slenderman from the site? I think so, probably. Children, I don't think that was an issue with the stories. Yeah, they stabbed their friend to appease Slenderman. Like, that was a child that needed help, I think. You ever were a child and play games, and you get into your games, but sometimes your games is stabbing, and you sacrifice somebody to Slenderman? Probably not, unless you are this one specific girl. But this isn't about Slendymans. This is about Caillou. His Caillou addiction changed after that, and began watching SpongeBob, Dragon Tales, and Dante and Friends. You see, it was Christmas Day and Daniel already got his presents. He got his boy toys and some new drip. His new drip. I also gave him a VHS copy of The Room. What? Why? That evening, my parents were out for the rest of the night. The only ones at home were me and Daniel. I almost forgot about his special Ed gift I wanted to give him. So I went on eBay to search up hot singles near me. Caillou DVDs. At the very bottom of the third page, there was a DVD named A Caillou Lost Episode. It was poorly written in a poop Sharpie. What? And the DVD itself had no case. And it looked sexy. I don't know if I... The good thing was that it was only $4.20. I thought it was too good to be true, so I bought it. I don't know if I want to keep reading this one. You've got 2 out of 3 strikes, my friend. Nice poop Sharpie. What does that mean? The DVD arrived in 2 minutes. Longer than I thought, I said in my mind. That's a weird way to say you thought, but alright. So I went to the living room with Daniel and popped the DVD in the DVD player. A little menu came up and I went to episode selection. I saw that it only had 5 episodes, so I picked the first one. I left the room so we could watch the DVD while I eat my dinner. Is assisted suicide a bad thing? Debatable. When I was eating dinner, the lights flickered and the power went out for a minute. Because I feel like a lot of times when people are talking about that, they're talking about people who are like in a coma. And that's, oh yeah, that's debatable. When I was eating dinner, the lights flickered and the power went out for a minute. Who did that? I said to myself. Oh well, maybe it was just a snowstorm a week ago. Who wrote this? Do they think they're being clever? Right when I was about to eat chicken, Daniel burst into the kitchen, looked white as the snow, yo. Oliver, his voice seemed weak. Are you okay? I asked. Worried, I felt his forehead and noticed his temperature had gone up. Why did Caillou kill his parents? He said to me. Honk honk. I'm sure Caillou didn't kill his parents. It's probably just your stupid imagination, I reassured him, very reassuringly. Now you need some rest, I said as we got upstairs. After giving him some Flintstone gummies laced with sleeping pills, okay. Okay. I watched some TV in my room. 25 minutes later, I got curious at what he saw, so I popped it in the DVD and it began to play. After I finished working out my muscles and thighs, I went to what? I went to episode selection, tried all the episodes. I noticed there were 0005 episodes worked, so I selected that. The intro was playing in backwards and was distorted, and the animation was a blurry and crappy like an early Newgrounds video, but I can recall some scenes. Hope you ran them over for the sake of honk. The episode was called episode 666, with Caillou having a sinister expression, and the episode started with Caillou's parents coming back from the store. Where is the hyper-realistic toy I wanted? Caillou asked while he looked in the shopping bags. I'm sorry, Caillou, his dad remarked, but it was all out of stock. Then Caillou started crying, but it didn't sound like his typical cry. It sounded like a real-life human crying. I'm done with this. I'm done with Caillou creepypasta. Begone you. Begone you. Begone you. Let's read Sonic EXE. This one's about Sonic Hedgehog. I do not trust the writer of that story to not immediately turn, weirdly racist. I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, much like everyone else. I think I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played glitchy or hacked games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed. I liked how you get to explore the towns in it, until I noticed, out of my peripheral vision, that the mailman had arrived and put something in my mailbox, as usual, and left. That was a weird way to phrase that. Like, you got your mail for the day. You didn't have to say you saw it out of your peripheral vision and the mailman had put something in your mailbox as usual. And I paused my game to go see what I got in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note first and realized it was from my dear friend Kyle. Let's just call him that. Don't we all talk that way? Out of my peripheral vision, I turned my head to look at my cat, who was walking into the room as usual, and then the cat left. My friend Kyle, let's call him that, whom I hadn't heard from in 2 weeks. That's not a long time to not hear from somebody. I go 2 weeks without talking to people. It's very easy to do. I know that because I recognize his handwriting. Though what was weird is how it looked. It looked badly written and scratchy and somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time writing it down and did it in a hurry. This is what he wrote. Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late, and I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me, and if you don't destroy the CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc and you'll destroy him, but do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game. It's just what he wants. Just destroy it. Please, Kyle. Well, that certainly was weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, I didn't do what he asked me. Hello? I didn't think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Yeah. Why didn't you destroy it, Kyle? Well, didn't you listen? I can't do it. He's after me. And if you don't destroy the CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Kyle couldn't destroy it because he's too fast for him. I don't know what that means. But he's simply too fast. He's simply too fast for him. Not fast enough that he couldn't, like, write this message and put it in an envelope and mail it to his best friend that he hasn't seen in 2 weeks. You know. Because that's not as fast as just, like, hitting a disc with a hammer or throwing in, like, a shredder or just literally bending it in half. Anyway, I didn't know what he asked me. I didn't think that a simple gaming disc could do anything bad. It's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Sonic be fast, yo. Yeah, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. Anyway, I looked at the disc, and it looks like any ordinary computer CD-R disc, except it had a black marker on it written Sonic.exe, and it was much unlike Kyle's handwriting, meaning that he must have gotten it from someone else, like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the writing of the CD, I was actually excited and wanted to play it, since I'm a big Sonic fan. I went up to my room and turned on the computer and put the disc in and installed the game. And then clicked on the exe and then waited for the install bar to fill up. And then when the install bar filled up, another window popped up. And so I clicked the next button on the next window. And then it had another window that said next. So I clicked the next button on that window as well. And then Sonic was there. When the title screen popped up, I noticed that it was the first Sonic game. I was like, awesome! Because like I said earlier, I like the classics. The first thing I noticed that was out of place was when I pressed start. There was a split second when I saw the title image turned into something much different, something that I now consider horrifying before cutting to black. That's where he screwed it. Yeah, Sonic is Sonic a PC game? It's a Sega. It's a Sega, and then I guess it was later on like Nintendo. Sonic was never on PlayStation, right? Was it? I don't think I've ever played a Sonic game. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened, the title emblem was rusted and ruined, the Sega 1991 was now instead Sega 666, and the water had turned red, like blood, except it looked hyper-realistic. There it is, hyper-realistic. Was it on Nintendo? I feel like newer Sonic games are on Nintendo, right? Right, right? Like once the Sega stopped existing, it moved to Nintendo. I don't actually know. Like what was Sonic Colors released on? You saw Sonic walking around your neighborhood yesterday, just hanging out? Just like around? The Hedgehog? But the freakiest thing was that in that split-second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding with two glowing red dots staring right at me. And his smile had stretched wider up to the edge of his face. I was rather disturbed about that image when I saw it, though I figured it was just a glitch and forgot about it. After it cut to black, it stayed like that for about 10 seconds or so. And then another weird thing happened. The save file select from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 popped up, and I was like, what the fuck? What's this doing in the first Sonic game? Anyway, then I noticed something off. The background was the dark, cloudy sky of the bad Stardust Speedway level from Sonic CD, and there were only 3 save files. The music was that creepy Caverns of Winter music from Earthbound, only it was extended and seemed to have been in reverse, and the image for the save file where you see the preview of the level you're on is just red static for all 3 files. Crazy, saw Sonic, but oh right, it's Halloween, I forgot that's the day that people wear costumes. I was at work all day today, and then I drove home, and I just simply didn't look at anything when I drove, so I didn't see anybody in costume. I wonder... I might have the Caverns of Winter song on this playlist. Do I have it? Mother 3. No, I didn't go through the Earthbound playlist, I think. Oh, no, I have the Tenda's Cave. What freaked me out more was the character select. It showed only Tails, Knuckles, and to my surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now, I was sure that something was up. I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in a classic Sonic game, for crying out loud? That's when I realized this... Can I help you? Sir? Don't you do it. My cat just jumped on top of the other cat. He was trying to get down from the cat tower, and Pit Pat was laying on one level, and I saw him with his paws outstretched like, should I drop onto this level where you were just lying and having a nap? I tried to tell him don't do it, but he did it. Rude. I'm sorry, Pit Pat. He's being a... That's when I realized this wasn't a glitchy game. It was a hacked game. Yeah, it definitely looked hacked. It was real creepy, but as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared. Or at least I tried not to be. I told myself that it was just a hacked game, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked file 1 and chose Tails, and when I selected and got started, the game froze for about 5 seconds, and I heard a creepy pixelated laugh. You can't pixelate a laugh. That sounded an awful lot like that Kefka guy from Final Fantasy before cutting to black. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more. Then it showed the typical level title thing, except the simplistic shapes were different shades of red, and the text showed only Hill, Act 1. The screen faded in, and the level title vanished, revealing Tails in the Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1. The music was different, though. It sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing and had Tails start running like you would in any of the classic Sonic games. What was odd was that as Tails was running along the level, there was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. That was when the peaceful music started to lower down into slow, deep tones, very slowly as I kept going. I suddenly saw something, and I stopped to see what it was. It was one of the small animals, lying dead on the ground, bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face that I never saw him have before, so I had to move along, and he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving, I saw more dead animals as Tails moved past them, looking more and more worried as the music lowers and he moves past more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like somebody killed them in rather gruesome ways. A squirrel was hanged on a tree with what appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all 4 of his limbs torn off, and a duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there were no more animals, and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Tails to continue. After a minute passed, after the music stopped, Tails was running up a hill, and then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw why. Sonic was there on the other side of the screen with his back against Tails with his eyes closed. Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but then his smile faltered, obviously noticing that Sonic wasn't responding to him, if not acting as if he was totally oblivious of Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make him move, so this had to have been a cutscene. Suddenly, I began to have a growing feel of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt that Tails was in danger, and something bad was going to happen. I heard faint static growing louder as Tails was but inches away from Sonic and stopped and stuck out his hand to touch him. That foreboding feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I felt the urge to tell Tails to get away from Sonic as the static grew louder. Suddenly, in a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open, and they were black with those red glowing dots just like in the image, though there wasn't even a smile. When that happened, the screen turned black and the static sound was off. It stayed black for about 7 seconds, and then white text appeared forming a message saying, "Hello, do you want to play with me?" At this point, I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with the game, but my curiosity got the better of me when I was taken to a different level with the level title now saying, Hide and Seek. This time, I was in the Angel Island level from Sonic 3, and it looked like everything was on fire. Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures to me as if he wanted to get out of the area he was in as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the 4th wall trying to tell me to get him out of there. So I pressed down on the arrow key as hard as I could to make him run as fast as he could. A pixelated version of that creepy theme when you meet Shadow at the Ark as Robotnik from Sonic Adventure 2 was playing as I made Tails trek through the desolate forest, trying to help him escape from whatever he was trying to run from. It's probably Sonic. Suddenly, I heard that creepy laugh again, that awful Kefka laugh. Right after 10 seconds have passed, as I helped Tails run through the forest, and then I started seeing flashes of Sonic popping up everywhere on the screen, again with those black and red eyes. The music changed to that of suspenseful drowning jingle as I see Sonic behind Tails slowly gaining up on him, flying. Sonic wasn't running. He was actually flying. The flying pose his sprite was making looked very similar to Metal Sonic's flying pose in Sonic CD, except it was just Sonic, and he had the black and red eyes again, only this time he had the most deranged-looking grin on his face, as he looked as though he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, another cutscene, the music stopped and Sonic vanished. Whoever wrote this really loves Sonic. I love just the pulses. Like, the music was from Sonic 3.41, but this level was from Sonic 3562, and then the Robotnik you can only play in Sonic 7047. Tails laid there and started crying for 15 seconds, but the scene was rather upsetting to watch, and I kind of teared up myself. But then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails, and Tails looked up in horror. Blood started to come down those blackened eyes of Sonic as a grin slowly grew from his face, and he looked down at the horrified fox. I could do nothing but watch. So suspense. Just in a split second, Sonic lunged at Tails right before the screen went to black. Thank you, Nightbot. There was a loud screeching noise that only lasted 5 seconds. They really love to time out every single, action or pause in, exact seconds. He was crying for 15 seconds, and the screeching noise that was only 5 seconds. And then the text returned for only 2 seconds, and it said, "You're too slow. Want to try again?" And then that god-awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked by what had happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? No, he couldn't have. He and Tails are supposed to be best friends, right? Why did Sonic do that to him? I shook the shock off as I was brought back to the character select. The save file that had Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box itself, but in the TV screen itself, which was flickering with that red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding. His orange fur had gone black and he had an expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. The laugh came again and the screen cut to black and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time the level said, "You can't run." I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack or some kind of sick, twisted joke or anything, really. But despite my fear of what happened next, I kept playing. The next level looked much different. It had the ground of the Scrap Brain Zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu. It had the dark reddish cloud sky, but it was the music that creeped me out the most. It sounded like Gigas' theme right after you beat Pokey in Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid just like Tails did, though not as much. More rather, he looked a little unnerved. He broke the fourth wall just like Tails and looked as if he wasn't sure about going on, but I made him move anyway. He ran down the straight pathway in this dark level, and as he did, the screen started to flicker red static a couple times, and then that maddening laugh came again. Then, after a few seconds of running, I noticed several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear again, thinking something horrible is going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseated walking down this blood-stained road, but I still kept him going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared right in front of him with those black and red eyes, and the red static appeared again, and the static vanished, showing nothing but black screen with the text saying, "Found you." I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyway, red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. And this time, that high-pitched squealing from the Silent Hills 1's final boss was playing. I love how, like, it's all these different video game sounds from other video games. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God it wasn't, honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles in what appeared to be a pixelated black smoke. Thank you for using pixelated this time to describe an image and not a sound. I made Knuckles turn and then punch Sonic, but Sonic Yes, sir? Can I help you? Come into this room to do one big meow and that's it? Nyan! Nyan! He come into this room to do one big meow and that's it. I made Knuckles turn around and then punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in a black pixelated smoke before I could even land a hit. That terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles again, and then I made him punch again, and then Sonic vanished again, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and even I felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with... He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Oh, that Sonic and his sick, twisted little mind games. Another scene played out as Knuckled fell to his knees and clutched his head sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. And then, in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles and the screen went black with another distorted screeching noise that lasted for at least 3 seconds. At least. Another text message appeared. So many souls to play with. So little time, wouldn't you agree? What the hell? Just what is going on? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think that. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time, the second file box had Knuckles on the TV screen. His red fur had darkened to reddish gray. His dreadlocks were dripping with, is that what you'd call them? I thought they were his spines. I don't think Knuckles has dreadlocks. Does he? No. He's an echidna. He doesn't have hair. Do echidnas have hair? They got spines. Or something. Dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too, and he had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think that those were the actual characters trapped in those TV screens on the save files, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. So I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap. Wish I hadn't, because I then began to have the most disturbing nightmare. I was in pitch black darkness, though I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us," and why did you give us to him?" and "Run away before he gets you too," advertisements. Their cries died out as I then heard Sonic laugh. His laugh? It sounded a lot like the distorted Kefka laugh. Weird, huh? Sonic is gonna be like Freddy Krueger. He come in your dream and he get you. Oh, he's so scary. You're a lot of fun to play with, kid. Just like your friend Kyle, though he didn't last long. I was scared and looking around for the source of the voice, but he's so fast. Freddy Krueger wasn't this fast. He's not Sonic Blue Hedgehog at the speed of lightning. It won't be long now till you join him and all my other friends. I saw him walking towards me, flickering in and out in several directions. You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others. When he grabbed me and I saw his bleeding black and red-eyed, grinning face, I woke up with a fright. After a couple of hours, I decided to continue playing the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening. So I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought that was wacky, playing as Robotnik. But anyway, the level title appeared again, and this time it said ... which I found really freaky. This time, I was in some kind of hallway. Didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games, though it had the pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered. The walls were a dark grayish purple with animated candle lights, and a few dark blood stains here and there. And there was a dark red curtain hanging above on the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, that red curtain sways very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant, a piano playing a rather sad yet peaceful song. But I knew better. This was the song that played in Hill Act 1, only it wasn't in reverse. The Earthbound song? Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face, as if he was just a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I just left him standing. He turns his head to the left and then to the right at least twice, and then shrugs at me, as if he has no idea where he was or what is going on. Even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen, I had Robotnik continue onward. He did his usual running animation, you know, when you've beaten him at the end of a classic Sonic game and you chase him. And we continued going through the hallway. Then I stop at a long flight of stairs leading downward. Now I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself, though I pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed that the walls have gotten darker and more reddish. The red torches are now an eerie blue. Then we landed onto another hallway. This one was longer than the last one, or at least felt like it. Thank you, Nightbot. And then we headed down, another flight of stairs down. This one was much longer, took at least 1 full minute. And then I heard that horrid Kefka laugh again, and the music slowly faded until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned more dark. Why are the walls just turning red? Like, it's gotta be as red as it can get already. Like, it's been turning red and red and red and red and red and red and red. There's so much red. The walls turned more dark red, and the torches were a black flame now. When Robotnik landed onto the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really creeped out, though he tried to hide it. I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly, Sonic popped up right in front of Robotnik, the same way he did Knuckles, and then red static. The red static lasted for about 15 seconds, and then it showed me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic of Sonic standing in the darkness, where you can only see his face, while his head and torso faded into black. And when I say hyper realistic, I mean like he looked so real you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, as if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. His face, oh god, he had the most horrifying smile I've ever seen. And that's saying something, considering I saw that image at the start of the game. You remember the one. His eyes are wide and black and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic, and there were two small glowing red dots in those black eyes that were staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the sides of his face, like a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs, very sharp fangs, much like the werehog's teeth, except more vicious looking, somewhat yellowish, and from the looks of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs, as if he ate some animal. Vampire Sonic. This is wild. Is this what kids are scared of? Sonic, but he's got sharp teeth and he looks like he's been eating a delicious steaked meal? I stared at that gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off it. I felt as if he was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face, it just took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into. Why'd you stare at it for 30 seconds then if it only took 10 seconds? You get to spend 3 times as long as you need to, not to mention there was, what, like, it took like 15 seconds to red static, and you had 1 full minute of a hallway, and you had... There's so many seconds. There's so many times of seconds. Why are you counting? Did you have a stopwatch with you when you played this game? Bud, how do you know exactly how many seconds everything took? How? Then the screen flickered with red static again 3 times, and on the 3rd time I heard the Kefka laugh, except this time it sounded distorted. Demonic even. Wasn't it distorted before? Like, didn't it start out this is an unreliable narrator. Can't even trust the number of seconds if you don't even remember how things are distorted or not distorted, or if it's Kefka or Earthbound or Silent Hill. It went back to the image again, except this time there was the text again. No, it was pixelated. Yeah, the laugh was pixelated. His pixelated Kefka laugh. Except this time there was the text again, though it was messed up. But it was pretty much one of the most horrifying things I looked at since I had this game. You said like 4 things were the most horrifying. Yeah, the amount of times he mentions the exact time makes it less scary, honestly. Also, like, the image at the beginning of the game was the most horrifying thing he's ever seen. Hold on. Oh my god, this story's so long. Yeah, this image was, now he considers it horrifying, and then the image of Sonic's hyper-realistic bleeding face was even more realistic than, the image at the beginning of the screen, and now this one is the spooky text is the most horrifying things he's looked at since he had this game. It says, I am God. Sonic is God. That's how he gets so fast. It was when I read that message while looking at Sonic when it hit me. I realized right there and then, this Sonic was a monster. A pure, evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. And all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and possibly Kyle, are just his little toys. And the game is the very gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world, and the very hell his victims are trapped in. Nightbot loves this one. Suddenly, in an actual split second, okay, so now we're splitting the seconds, got it, I screamed as Sonic lunged at the screen, screeching loudly with his mouth wide open to an unnatural length, revealing nothing but a literally spiraling abyss of pure darkness before the red static came again, this time much louder and distorted. So loud that it hurt my ears. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the red static screeched for a good 7 seconds. Nightbot wants to thwomp Sonic. He's trying so hard. Advertisements. Then it stopped and showed nothing but black screen. As I sat there staring at the black screen, one last text came up. Ready for round 2, Tom? That's his name. That's the name of the guy. Advertisements. The Kefka laugh, now sounding more clear as if Sonic was right behind me, played again 3 times as I looked at that text in shock and confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu, and this time the 3rd save file had a TV image of Robotnik in the same tormented state as the Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin turned a dull gray, and his mustache drooped and had blackened, and his glasses broke, and blood is coming from them, and he had a mere dead-like expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. What a sentence. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by that horrid hedgehog, and always will be. Then the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on no matter what I did. I sat there for maybe 25 exact seconds, horrified by what had just happened. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. Are you taking notes? Write that down. Sonic facts. Sonic pro tips. Number 1. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who play his game in more ways than one, and then he gets bored, he drags you into the game. Literally drags you to hell, where he can play with you, always, as his toy. Pay attention. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck in there, but at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds exactly, I heard a voice right behind me, like a whisper. Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom. I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed staring right at me was a Sonic plushie smiling with bloodstains under its eyes. Ooh. Ah. So scary. The scariest thing I've ever seen. Sonic's gonna get me now. Manatees. Exactly, manatees. We have reached past 10 o'clock. This is usually when I call it for tonight. There are many good creepypastas out there. Maybe we will read these another day. Maybe we don't. Why was the manatees scare? Manatees scares me every time. It's a jump scare. It makes such a scary sound. I kind of want to read. I'm going to read the Splatoon creepypasta, The Bloodlings, because I want to know what's up with this. It looks short enough. After this, I think we will call it a night. But get ready for the scariest story of the night. Splatoon creepypasta, The Bloodlings. Just last year, I was able to buy a copy of one of the best-selling Wii U games, Splatoon, at the local GameStop. I saw people play this game on the internet, and I wanted to try it out so badly. The guy at the counter got the case for the game, which looked different from the other cases. Instead of an orange-haired squid girl and blue-haired squid boy, I saw a red-haired squid boy and a red-haired squid girl and a black-haired squid boy. I kind of wanted to ask why the case looked different, but to be honest, I actually thought they looked cool. Even the guy getting the game from the drawers didn't seem to care much. So I laid my money on the counter and I picked up the game after putting it into a baggie and went back home. Oh, yeah, this is the original Splatoon. The classics of you're squid now, you're kid now. When I went to my room, I took a closer look at the cover of the case. It did look very different from the original case indeed. There wasn't any orange or blue paint surrounding the characters. It was more red and bits of black. Even the logo looked a bit different. I thought that it may have just been a GameStop exclusive since red and black is their colors, so I just shrugged it off and put it in the console. When I started the game, it asked me to create a character. After doing so, I was placed in the hub world. I started roaming around the shops to see what kind of stuff they were selling. Unfortunately, I couldn't buy anything because I wasn't leveled up enough. And I had no... This is just Splatoon. This is just regular Splatoon. I saw other squids around. Many of them had some really cool artwork. When I got up close to them, one of them even had a red and black squid girl and boy. I immediately thought, yeah, it must be a GameStop exclusive thing. I headed out to play the game to get a feel of what it was like. It was amazing. After about 30 minutes of gameplay, I finally went to the online area to play against people from around the world. After the game ended, I headed over to the hub world to visit the shops again. When I walked into one, the door wouldn't open, and it said on a sign on the window, "Go away, we're closed." I looked around the hub world and noticed that no one was there. I thought it may have been my terrible internet connection, so I stepped inside the online battles area and I saw the 2 squids that were on the front of the box I got. One of them pointed at my character as if it was challenging me to a battle. The words "sure" and "no way" popped up. Being the first time playing this game, immediately said "sure." Instead of going to the screen where you have to wait for other players, it immediately put me in a game. The color of my inkling was my personal favorite color, light blue, hell yeah. As soon as I took a step off the area I spawned at, I was immediately surrounded by red-colored inklings. They began spraying me with red paint. I could barely get away. I tried to shoot at a couple of them, but they just wouldn't go down. I was starting to get covered from head to toe with red paint. Then I ran into another red inkling around a corner. I immediately got splatted. After that, the game suddenly ended. That was it? I asked myself as the words "you fail" show up in red splotchy letters. Usually after every game, the little cat comes by to raise up a flag of which color of team won. In this case, it was a red inkling saying, "Failure, try again next time." I walked back into the hub world to find that everything had been... Can I help you, sir? Are you scared by the Splatoon story? He's a little scared by the Splatoon story. I walked back into the hub world to find that everything had been darkened. I didn't know whether or not the game had a day or night cycle, but I thought it looked very eerie and bizarre. I saw no squids anywhere except for one in the middle of the area, which I could barely see. I walked up to him slowly and a comment popped up. "They stole my color and left me dry. I have nothing now. Not even my own blood to survive. Someone, please save me from this hell." That just sounds like a normal post that you would see in, like, the Splat Plaza. I backed away after reading what the inkling said. Suddenly, I was turned around and saw the red inkling standing in front of me. The game then shut off. I quickly got up to turn it back on. I wasn't about to let some glitch ruin my game, or so I thought. When the game started, it didn't have Callie or Marie like it would normally. No, it had 2 red inklings standing in a bloody room. Inklings trying to fight to stay alive. One of them even said, "Save me." I ran back into the online battles area to see if anything went back to normal. I was quickly placed in a game, but this time I was wearing red. I walked around the area and noticed a few black inklings in different spots, standing perfectly still. I shot at one of them curiously. It immediately died and a scream horrid shot out from the gamepad. I went around another corner and saw another black inkling. I shot it again, hoping there would be a different result, but no, it did the exact same, except the scream sounded a lot more painful. I tried to move back, but my character kept going. I tried to go to the Wii U home screen, but it wasn't responding. I lost control of my character. It started shooting more and more of the black inklings. I tried to turn the Wii U gamepad down and even the TV, but the screams kept getting louder and louder. I covered my ears and closed my eyes so I wouldn't have to hear nor see the sight of what was going on. I peeked up after a few seconds. The screen went to black. Blood started oozing down the screen, and then my character showed up. This time it was a black inkling. More blood came oozing down, then over everything, and the writing appeared, and the blood says, "You let it consume you. Now there's nothing left." The next day I went back to GameStop. I handed the man the game and my receipt and asked for my refund. Unfortunately, it wasn't the same guy from before, and the receipt had a different name of a different game on it. Great, now I'm stuck with it. The end. Well, were you spooked? Were you scared? The scariest part of all is that you couldn't get a refund because it gave you the wrong receipt and the guy was different. It was a different shift. You're gonna have to come back every day that week until you find the guy who sold you the game. I mean, well, thank you all for coming. Thank y'all for hanging out, for chatting. Thank y'all for... Do I not have my music source? A bad trade-in price would have been better. It might have been scarier. Turns out the guy who sold you the game doesn't even work there. No free refund ever. So scary. Literally so scary. Where is this one? This one. There we go. Now you can hear some music while we say our good nights. Thank you all for coming. I thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for hanging out and chatting. I hope you got some enjoyment out of those spooky, scary, creepy pastas. In a couple days on Wednesday, we will play some more Mother 3. We will do that game. It's not even spooky because it's not spooky month anymore, but it was never spooky. It was fun. Yeah, thank y'all for coming. Thank y'all for having a grand old time, or a regular time, or a spooky, scary time. I had fun reading. Some of these I had never read before, and they're kind of a blast. Why did they call it the Bloodlings? It's like Inklings, but it's blood instead of ink. Anyway, Wednesday we play Mother 3. I don't think I'm going to do a weekend stream this next weekend, but I'll post next week's stream in the Discord on a Friday. Let's see if anybody's live right now. Anybody's doing any Reborn live? Reborn alive at night on Halloween? I'm gonna send y'all to Rebabone. We just read a spooky, scary Splatoon creepypasta. Now see the regular spooky, scary Splatoon in real life. I just realized I made a whole Halloween outfit, and by whole Halloween outfit, I mean I put a different pattern on my shirt. And I literally forgot. I cannot believe this. I forgot to turn myself Halloween this whole time. I think you probably saw it when I exploded. I had a pumpkin shirt this whole time and I didn't even wear it. Tragedy. I'll wear it someday. We'll get a pumpkin shirt next time for no reason. Everybody, have a good night. Have a good sleep. Have a good dreams. Have a good, no scary Sonic dreams. Sonic cannot get you. Sonic is Sonic is... What was it? The embodiment of evil? Hold on. Hold on. Sonic is a monster, pure evil. Kefka laughs. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. Remember this. Good night, 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 good night.